On this episode, I'm joined by my friend and food blogger, Jon Self, to discuss his recent stint in Central Florida covering all the food the theme parks have to offer. Today's July 11th, 2023. This is episode 581 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts. Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I'm your host, Jeremy Stein. Rhonda is not quite back with me yet, but I promise she will be back on the next episode. So today I will be bringing in our friend and food blogger, Jon Self. But first, make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic. If you've not done so already, head out to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join. Then if you hit that subscribe button, you get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. And of course, we're talking about dining, and we know that planning that trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World can be overwhelming and at times just downright frustrating, especially when it comes to those advanced dining reservations and getting exactly what you want. Don't worry, Mouse Dining removes the frustration of booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Visit msmfriends.com to use this free service. So Rhonda is back from Vegas. She is safe and sound. She had a wonderful time, but she is right back into her 3-day in a row, 12 to 13-hour work days. So Jon is filling in for Rhonda on this episode, but she will be back next episode on Friday. We'll get to hear about her Vegas trip, and we'll have a fun topic discussing all of the World Showcase pavilions and where we rank them at Epcot. But for now, let's go ahead and bring in Jon Self, and let's talk food. Jon, welcome back to the Main Street Magic Podcast. I believe you now officially own the title of the most repeat guest, so I'll put your green jacket in the mail to you. Thank you for coming back on.
Okay. No problem. I assume it's like Saturday Night Live. I get a jacket after so many times, So I just want to make sure.
Yes, we'll make sure. Name on it, everything. It's beautiful.
Okay. More than happy to jump in. No problem.
Yeah, and I really do appreciate it. You're always a wonderful go-to as schedules get hectic on our end sometimes, and Rhonda just got back from a 4-day trip to Vegas, immediately launched back into work. So I appreciate you filling in there. But we're going to talk about your whole trip, if that's even what you want to call it, because it was more like a short move, I felt like. And then we'll get into some of the food you had and the good and the bad. But yeah, start with the trip, the length of trip, exactly kind of what you were there for, where you stayed. Let's talk about that first.
Basically, I just went on what was originally supposed to be a short little work trip to do some food blogging stuff and do some other theme park related stuff. And I stayed pretty much in Orlando for June 5th to July 4th. I flew back on July 4th. Because basically the flights were so cheap to fly back on July 4th because I'm flying back to Chicago. And so that's the easiest thing to do because, I'm here at least for today in my little vagabond lifestyle, which we can get into in a minute. Today I'm in Macomb, Illinois. And so that's where I was based out of and most of the time. And so I take the Amtrak train to Chicago to fly. I'll actually be doing that tomorrow, flying out of Chicago to go see my parents. So,
okay.
So when you're hearing this, I'll be at least on an Amtrak or made my way to my parents in Arkansas at that point.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Wow. So, that's full 30 days pretty much. That's crazy.
Pretty much. That's kind of like that. Remember that trip that kept getting extended back in January? I was only supposed to go for 5 days and then I got to cover something else and I covered something else and I covered something else. And so that was about a month. So those are things I can do now in my little vagabond freelance writing lifestyle.
So when you do something like this, obviously in some of these situations, you are not packed for a month-long trip, of course.
No,
I don't think anybody could. Where do you tend to stay? And I mean, how does that all work especially when things are getting extended? If you're expecting to be there for X number of days and then it's all of a sudden 5 more and 5 more, how do you work that into your whole schedule of being there and your attire? And I mean, and here in Florida, we know you got to dress for every season sometimes, even if it's summer. So,
and do not forget, if you're unfamiliar with the Twitter handle, sometimes I have to have outfits that might need a tie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that actually happened this last trip. So where I didn't have to, but it looks a little better when your fill-in clergy person wears a tie. It's kind of nice in most traditions.
Sure.
So, it's a little tricky. I have a couple of different friends who I stay with when I go down to Orlando. Obviously, I stay with most of the time I stay with Tom. He's at Vacationers Podcast and his YouTube channel. I stay with him a lot. He has a condo in Kissimmee area, kind of in that area where a lot of people stay when they stay in the condos and try to save money staying offsite. It's not quite. You would turn off before you'd go to Margaritaville Resort to give people perspective.
Yeah,
kind of like where the in that whole area. Where the closest I guess the closest Walmart to Disney World is, the one I would not suggest you ever go to, but because it's so busy and it's a disaster there all the time.
Yes.
But usually I'm staying there, and things get extended. And sometimes if I'm working, depending on what side I'm working for, I might be at a hotel for a couple of days, and it can be tricky. Sometimes there's gaps in the schedule, but these are just the things you do at the moment, and you rework flights, and that's why Southwest has become my go-to airline, because I can change my flight with Southwest very quickly.
Yeah, that's got to be key then at that point. What is this just kind of fascinates me, in working in the parks, and what does a day look like for you if you have just say a lunch media event, or you just have lunch that one of these sites wants you to cover? Is this a dedicated to that specific restaurant and meal, or the media event for the day? Are you going to that? Are there specific things you're expected to order? Are you then sitting down, back at your room or on site, inside of a park and writing about it immediately? Or do you kind of batch all of this information and then take a whole day to write several articles? How does that whole process work?
The answer to that is yes, yes, and yes.
Okay.
Let me give a better example of that. Let's say, for instance, it's a media event or it's an unofficial media event at a restaurant at Disney Springs, which, if you follow me at all, that I spend a lot of time at Disney Springs.
Yeah.
And so depending on if it's table service, usually it's get back to the condo or sometimes I've picked up a new habit. You'll appreciate it, Jeremy. I go to Coronado Springs.
There we go.
Because of all the outlets they have in that whole area, especially in the tower side.
Yeah.
You can always find an outlet. You can always find, something to go from there. And I'll type it. Now, if it's flavor, like if it's a Flavors of Florida, the first day of Flavors of Florida, or the first day of Food and Wine, which I'm already starting to plan because I'll be going back a little bit before Food and Wine starts. I literally will. Well, let's pick on Gideon's Bakehouse. It's the first day of a new month at Gideon's Bakehouse. So we have for Flavors of Florida, we have the new key lime chocolate chip cookie, which may come up later, and then we have the coconut chocolate chip creation, and those both come out. Well, I literally leave there, go to my hidden, not very well hidden spot at Disney Springs that has a power outlet, and I type it up, and it's out within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or if, I need to do some other Flavors of Florida to be done. And in some cases, like I'm looking at my schedule of things that need to be written for different sites, I still have reviews to do of Minions Cafe from weeks ago.
Yeah.
And our buddy Xavier at Thrills Taste Travels, I still need to get a review done for him for Milk, the House of Cereal. I've done it for other people. I just haven't done it for him yet. Yeah. And so these things kind of vary. Well,
and in a lot of those situations, I mean, it's all dependent sometimes on that, being there first and getting it out. So in the situations, if something brand new opening, the brand new cookie, Food and Wine opening. I know a lot of these sites want to be first on scene to kind of get the information out. So I just find that whole part fascinating in general. Because and another question I'll ask is, now this turned into a completely different podcast to start, I guess, but
that's fine.
How do you work during the meal? Obviously you're taking photos. Are you taking notes at that time, or do you have a mind that just kind of retains it and you worry about going back to it and just using your memory later? How do you do that with note taking, picture taking, enjoying a meal? And then, which is another question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You
said enjoying a meal. Sometimes that doesn't get to happen.
It was because we did that in the past. When we were doing YouTube in the past, I remember for like a year, I didn't eat one single bite of food that was still warm, because you were so focused on, let's get the video, let's get the photo, let's get, the social media. Then we maybe need to take some notes. We need to do this and that. And then there's sometimes several of you, you're each trying it. by the time it gets to you.
Right.
So how do you balance that? Because obviously something that's put in front of you that is meant to be eaten immediately could be a little bit different if it now sits for a few minutes while you're worried about taking the perfect photos and some notes and stuff on it like that. I mean, the flavors can change.
Well, let me take a classic example, and I'm probably, since some of these sites I do write for in some freelance way, I'm on dangerous territory here, so I'll be cryptic.
Sure.
While I was on the trip, many of us who were in the know at Universal and food, we knew that Minion Cafe was scheduled to open on a Friday. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're listening to this, you're already going, that's not when it opened. You're correct. That's not when it opened. It was supposed to soft open on a Friday, and some things happened and some executives went in, and I don't want to be critical at this point, but let me just say the prices for everything at Minion Cafe were suddenly $1 or $1.50 higher for every entree.
Wow.
Because some people may have gotten sources, I'm dancing around this carefully, that may have known what the prices and all the menu items were going to be way before this.
Yeah.
Someone. So then it became common knowledge to everyone that Minion Cafe was going to open on that Saturday. So that meant every site everywhere was there doing their, hey, I ate every single item at Minion Cafe.
Right.
Spoiler alert, they did not eat every item at Minion Cafe. They may have tasted them, but they did not eat them.
Yeah.
And one of the reason I mention that is when, for some of us who spent 8.5 hours at Minion Cafe that day and never left our mobile order spot except to go get more food, we did eat everything. And one of the items that really got hindered was Mel's Meatball Mountain, which is basically, it's not pizza, but it's not a stromboli. It's not a calzone. It's some kind of merging of that. And when I got to eat it, it was kind of cold. And so it didn't taste great. So I did a lot of reviews for other people, other sites, a couple of days later when I went back to check that. Yeah. Now, I still didn't think that item was great, but it tasted way better when it was warm than it was cold. And so those are the kind of things you really have to struggle with, because many of my colleagues and some of who I do freelance work with their sites, they bought everything on the menu, and there's no way they could possibly have eaten it when it was warm.
Right. Interesting.
And especially because, and let me make fun of Universal for a second, because this is, I mean, I'm very pro Universal. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But this is a running thing that I am critical of Universal all the time. As much as Disney fans hate mobile ordering sometimes, Disney's mobile order system is 100 times better than Universal's.
Yeah.
And Universal has decided to double down on, we're not going to have quick service, but we're not going to have table service. We're going to have mobile order table delivery, which sounds great in principle. And when it's not busy, it's okay. But, and spoiler alert for Epic Universe, a majority of the quick service restaurants at Epic Universe are planned to use the same method.
Yeah.
So what that means, if you're unfamiliar with it, is you arrive at the restaurant, you wait in a queue to go in, a team member seats you, and the team members are doing a great job at doing this. The team member seats you, you have a table number, and then you use your mobile app to order from there. Or if you're smart, you looked and see the counter that was directly to your right when you entered there, where one person is sitting. You get up from your table, remembering your table number, you order at that counter, and you go back to your table.
Oh, okay.
I guarantee you will get your food faster.
Okay. That's very good to know.
We've tested that several times, and every time food has been faster that way.
Yeah, we've definitely had some issues with the system, and we don't go that often, but
right.
every time we have
the system is great in principle, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
In reality.
Well,
sorry. Now we totally took your podcast a different direction.
Oh no! Well, this actually takes it in the perfect direction, because I want to talk Minions Cafe first before we get into kind of some of the. Well, let's start here. Obviously, you go on a trip for a month. You get to eat a lot. Not everything's good.
Nope.
What were some of the lowlights? Because we always, of course, even though Rhonda's not here, we're still going to end on a positive note with the highlights. What were some of the lowlights on this trip that for anybody who's maybe going to Central Florida and visiting some of these theme parks, is looking forward to eating, they may want to steer clear of these items?
You know how when Connections Cafe and Connections Eatery opened, they had the Liege waffle, which is arguably, no, I think I can say this without qualifier, might be one of the best value desserts at Walt Disney World on property.
Agreed.
And they had this big display, and you could watch them make the Liege waffles, and they weren't special, but they were kind of an elevated version of a simple dish.
Yeah.
And those were really good. Now at Connections Cafe, not Connections Eatery. Connections Cafe is the Starbucks. Sorry, I got to make sure I get that right. They have a tree cake or a Baumkuchen. I believe that's how you say it. I passed theological German, but I did not say that correctly for anyone who speaks German. This treat, I've had it obviously a long time ago, swinging a racket in Europe. I know what it's supposed to taste like, and they got it close. It wasn't good. And it comes prepackaged in a box like you would buy anything at a normal Starbucks.
Yeah.
Even though you can watch them make it, it wasn't good at all. I was all excited to go get it because I was arriving a little early. We got it, and there's the chocolate covered version and kind of the glazed version. I would skip that if I were you.
Okay.
I'm going to put that nicely. I know I've had several people ask me about it, and I'm like, did you read the review I wrote? I tried to be nice for a change, and I had a hard time.
Yeah.
That one kind of stood out at me as something that really wasn't all that great. I wasn't a fan of the coconut Gideon's cookie.
Okay.
But in fairness, I'm not a fan of coconut.
Yeah.
But
same.
as Jeremy can appreciate, I'm not a fan of pickles either. But there are lots of times I review things that have pickles on them because but I know what the pickle's supposed to taste like, and whether it's a good pickle or a bad one or those kind of things. So, I mean, I know what it was supposed to taste like, and I thought it was good, but it wasn't wait in line for an hour at Gideon's. And by the way, they have hardly been using virtual queue at Gideon's this summer, which I think is a different podcast you might want to go to of why are the crowds down at Walt Disney World, because they're down at Universal also.
Yeah, I was chatting with a friend earlier about that today and some of our theories around why that may be. But you're right, they're down at both, and this is
right.
Just...
And Universal thinks they know why.
Okay,
that one's the easiest one to solve.
Yeah,
it's 2023 and not 2025.
Yeah, exactly. People are going to be waiting for that one. But it was funny because we were, and this is always a conversation with anything between Disney and Universal, is the target is so much on Disney's back on why are the crowds so low at Disney?
Yes,
but nobody's talking about why are they low at Universal as well. Have you seen that at SeaWorld and all? I mean, are we looking at this is across theme parks in Florida in general, or are we just looking at the two big dogs?
I went to SeaWorld. We did a touring plan experiment at SeaWorld, and we blew right through all the coasters there.
Yeah.
But we went on a Monday during the week, though it was a holiday.
Yeah.
I really haven't seen that data. In fairness you're correct. Once again, Disney breathes funny and everybody jumps. Yeah. Universal does something bad and people are like, that's just Universal. Yeah. I get there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
But the percentage of crowds being down is not as high at Universal as it is at Walt Disney World. It's noticeable.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm getting data that tells me this was the slowest 4th of July crowd ever in the history of Walt Disney World, not just in the last 20 years.
I know. Ever.
The history of Walt Disney World.
That's crazy.
I'm not sure that data is accurate, but even if it's not completely accurate, it's a huge red flag.
Yeah. Do you see
sorry.
Do you see that continuing here through the end of July, beginning of August, which I ask selfishly because we're going on back to back trips to Universal, then the following weekend Disney and the following weekend Disney, and honestly, I'd be okay with low crowds. So I guess we'll see what it looks like.
The weekends at Universal haven't been that low.
Yeah.
But remember when we restarted the whole theme park world, Universal was a nightmare to go to on the weekends.
Oh, yeah.
And during the week I would walk in and be like, I'll walk into Tucson, there'd be nobody there. Mm-hmm. I'd walk into Mythos, there'd be hardly anybody there, just in my world of food. So I'm not anticipating it being very busy. The summer crowds seem to be down, but we do need to remember that July tends to be the busiest of the summer months, the first week of August and all of July. So perhaps people are waiting. Perhaps you and people like me have been successful in telling people, visiting on the holidays is really stupid. You shouldn't do it unless, you're Jeremy and you want to you want to visit on Christmas Day just because you have to. Okay,
Yep.
well, that's fine. It's not a great idea if you want to have the best experience.
Right. So our plan is finally working. We finally got crowd
Yes.
levels down when we want to be there. So we'll keep that up.
Right. That's quoting people who've been on your podcast. That's the theory at the moment.
Yes. All right. Let's talk.
Did I dance around that well enough as a freelancer?
You did.
Okay,
you're always very good at that. You definitely know what you're doing when it comes to those types of things.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about Minions Cafe. Because again, that's the latest and greatest that everybody's interested in. I'm very interested in it. Actually, our youngest daughter has been there before I got a chance to go. She went down for a day with a friend. The menu did not interest her very much, so she just had a freeze pop, but she loved it. And we're going to be there next week for her birthday, for Rhonda's birthday. I would like to check it out. I've read a lot of the reviews and stuff on social. It appears to me that Minions Cafe food, from the looks of it, really comes down whether you know how to take a photo or not. Because I saw some that looked horrific, and then some that looked like pretty cool, well-designed food, outside of the flavor. First, let's talk some about the design, and then the actual flavor of the food, because they put a lot into the creativity in the design, down from the names to the way that it's being served. So I guess talk about the creativity of it, and then the actual flavor. Is Minions Cafe good, and is it somewhere you'd recommend? I mean, the inside looks wonderful. It looks like an absolute blast. The decor, everything, theming looks great from my perspective.
As long as you don't have, and I'm using the term inappropriately and offensively to people who've truly experienced this, as long as you don't have PTSD towards the fact that Monsters Cafe is not there anymore.
Yeah.
Because some of us still miss Monsters Cafe because we knew what to order and how to order, and we probably the best vegan item ever, the mummy platter, was at Minions Cafe, at Monsters Cafe. Minion Cafe, as I've written, this is the joke. I've written about Minions Cafe for 9 sites now.
Wow.
Okay, 9 different sites. Minions Cafe is the opposite of Monsters Cafe in so many ways.
Okay.
Ironically, the air conditioning is still good, but it's not to the level of Monsters Cafe. Monsters Cafe had MIB Cat in the Hat air conditioning.
Oh yeah.
Okay, just for perspective, if you're not familiar with that, somebody set the air conditioner like 59 degrees and left it there. I mean, that kind of stuff. Mini Cafe is bright. They're using windows with skylights and all kinds of things, and it's white and yellow everywhere. The decor is fun. You have an area that's my favorite room. It's the break room for the Minions, where you go in. There's a vending machine where they can purchase stuff. There's lockers where old computers are tucked in there, and little bananas are tucked away, and then anything you might know from any of the movies would be there. They have 2 different foosball tables that are a little different than the ones at NBC Sports Grill, but you dine on those. I mean, it's a fun environment. There's lots of things to look at. There's lots of nods in one room to the latest movie with Pet Rocks, and so all those kind of things.
Okay.
Obviously, we've already talked about that it's mobile order table delivery, which will be the code word, but I've already told you, and you can find this probably every review I write, it might be a better way to order your food than that at Mini Cafe. Yeah. The food, I was asked by one site to rank this where this fell on the Universal Studios Florida food. I currently have it as the 4th best quick service at Universal Studios Florida. Depending on who you are, Today Cafe is going to be ahead of it. But, Today Cafe is not targeted towards the average tween or the average kid or the family with the young family, because this is just a great place to go. And you can't get banana bread beer at Today Cafe. You can at the Minion Cafe, by the way.
Shoot. I'm gonna have to try that.
I would rank Central Park Crepes ahead of this, but obviously sitting at Central Park Crepes is hard, and I would rate Bumblebee Man's taco truck ahead of this. Also, same issue.
Yep.
Seating. So for a lot of groups, this is going to be your best table service option at Studios Florida. And when it comes to theming and everything that goes with this is on par, if not exceeds what you would get when Disney really commits to do a themed restaurant.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be negative about Disney. We all know this. When Disney commits to doing a themed restaurant, it's phenomenal. When they just go through the motions, we all roll our eyes and wonder why we're paying to go to Disney. That's a whole different conversation. That's not me being pro Universal. That's just the way it is.
That's exactly how it is.
Yeah. The food at Mini Cafe is, I mean, you and I have had this conversation a lot. You can't tell me a restaurant is good when I have to order certain entrees.
Yeah.
Now, don't misunderstand me. If you go to, let's pick on something that's obvious. You go to STK Steakhouse and you order the chicken and then you complain about the chicken. That's on you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. You chose to get the chicken. You paid your money. You take your chances. I mean, not every place is like Steakhouse 71, where the vegan item might be the best item on the menu.
Yeah.
If you like vegan with the vegan Wellington. This is some of the food I thought was really good, a step up. Shockingly enough, probably I gave you a list of things you can Google me and Minion Cafe and find it. I've probably written different lists. Carl's Crispy Cauliflower is a really good vegan entree that comes with, it comes with a cucumber salad, some blue coconut rice. Yeah. And then kind of a sweet and spicy chili sauce. The comparable entree with that is Lucy's Top Secret Salmon, which is kind of the same entree, except it comes with a lipstick taser sauce. And my voice is cracking because I did my real job a couple times yesterday. And so my voice is shot. So I will not try to say lipstick taser the way Lucy does in the movies. But it comes with a sauce and you squeeze. That's one of the gimmicks at Mini Cafe. A lot of the entrees come with gimmicks, like with the cheese ray sandwich. You have a little squeeze where you squeeze more of the cheese on there with the little tube.
Okay.
Otto's noodle bowl comes to you covered. The noodles are covered and they release the jar and then they pour the broth in there and prepare it in front of you. It has some kind of nice little gimmicks like that. The food is good. I actually, in pre-writing, because spoiler alert, back to your question, how do you get these blogs done so quickly? A lot of it is done, a third of the blog is done before I even arrive.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how I may or may not have known the prices were going to be at Minion Cafe before I got there. And when I arrived, was shocked that they were all $1.50 higher.
Yeah.
At the price I thought they were originally, they're pretty good. Like Lucy's Top Secret Salmon is $19.99. And it comes with, it's a reasonable quick service, well-prepared piece of salmon, coconut blue rice, Thai cucumbers, edamame, and then the lipstick taser sauce, which is sweet and spicy chili sauce. At $18.50, I thought that was great. At $19.99, I'm struggling. But that's me being, at least a large portion of my income comes from evaluating what's a good deal and what's not.
Yeah.
And so the $19.99, I'm like, well, that's still probably a good deal, but I'm not as excited about it.
Right. That makes sense.
And so there's a lot of that at Minion Cafe.
Okay.
There's a pork sandwich that's pretty good. Trying to go through my notes here. The chicken Stewart Szechuan surprise, which is the largest pieces of theme park chicken at a quick service you've ever seen in your entire life. I mean, I know our buddy Xavier, he ordered it, and then I had it later just to compare. He felt he had a whole chicken on his plate.
Wow.
To go with it. Now, the problem is it's a well-prepared chicken and it avoids, because they're using the same rotisserie chicken device that was back with Monsters Cafe. Mm-hmm. So they still haven't, some of the things survived.
Wow.
And so it avoids becoming dry, which if you can order theme park chicken that's not dry, you win. Okay. You win the lottery, because that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And any of the times I've tried it, any of my colleagues have tried it, it's not been dry. The sauce on it is pretty good, but the flavor mostly goes to the skin on the outside, and not a lot of it gets soaked up by the chicken.
Okay.
So I still think it's a good entree, but it's not, fabulous.
Okay. But
the portion size is large. I mean, you probably, you could eat that and you'd be like, how did I finish this? Wow. It's that kind of entree.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, I mean, it's not overwhelming, but when you show up for quick service, you don't expect that. And even, I forgot, I'm looking at my notes now, that it comes with stir-fried vegetables, lo mein. That's actually pretty good. I mean, for quick service.
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand me. As someone who frequents Morimoto, don't get the idea that it's that quality. But the food was pretty good. I know I was chatting with Theron at Attractions Magazine. He ordered a couple of things that, in retrospect, I would not have ordered. He ordered Otto's Noodle Bowl, and it's good, but it's not great. It's a little underwhelming. Using the HHN term at the moment, I'm hearing a lot of people say about the announcements. Well, I'm whelmed. I'm not overwhelmed, but I'm whelmed, which is poor English.
Yeah.
He ordered that. I think some other people at Attractions ordered Agnes's honeymoon soup, which is a really cool idea. If you've seen I think it's the second Despicable Me movie. Spoiler: Lucy and Gru get married, and the girls come in to surprise them for their honeymoon and bring them breakfast in bed and bring them food. And it's soup made with all kinds of scary things that a kid would make, and gummy bears inside of it. Now, Universal took that and made kind of a green tomato soup and had kind of a basil tomato gummy bear it puts in there. And so it's a nice idea. Oh, wow. But the meal doesn't really come off well, even though you get a small pimento grilled cheese sandwich, which is not bad. It all goes together well, but it's not fabulous.
Yeah.
I think that's $14.99. I think I will look that up. Yes, $14.99.
Okay.
Probably before we leave Minions Cafe, we should probably talk about the Minion Tots.
Yes.
The Minion Tots, the best comparison, they are not tater tots, which is why there was great trauma, and our friend Alicia Stella had great trauma. We have to keep her up to date on they've run out of Minion Tots several times.
Yeah.
And they sell just regular tots when that happens. These Minion Tots, this is kind of old school. If you remember the old frozen potatoes, the smiles that kind of look like they...
Yep.
Okay.
Just saw them yesterday in the freezer section.
I see. I don't have those where I live,
yeah.
So I did not... They resemble that in texture, except the flavor's way better with kind of a mashed potato texture on the inside.
Okay.
A more condensed mashed potato flavor. And they're pretty good. I mean, I've recommended a couple times for reviews. If you have a choice over getting the green banana chips, spoiler alert, plantain chips,
mm-hmm.
Which they're kind of long plantain. If you look at the initial photos, they kind of look like zucchini because they were cut that way. I recommend you pay $1 and buy the Minion Tots. You'll probably only get like 5 or 6 of them, but you'll get one that'll have one eye and one that'll have 2 eyes. There's even some individuality to the way they look. And so I think they're probably worth it. I would recommend I did this with some YouTube colleagues the other day you can pay $6 for a side of Minion Tots, or you can buy a kid's meal for $9 and get the Minion Tots with it. Okay. For $9. I'd recommend you just go ahead and do it that way. That's what we did.
Okay.
And every kid's meal comes with a mini banana. The mini bananas have been hit or miss.
Yeah, I saw that.
I know I've heard from some of my colleagues that they were really good, and some of my colleagues, they were the worst bananas they've ever had. Sorry, I can't. It's like most bananas. You can't know how good it's going to be until you bite into it.
Right. Exactly. Well, we'll give it a shot next week, especially based off some of your recommendations here. Before we move on from Minions, because I know we've seen this at other restaurants, whether it's Disney, Universal. I mean, shoot, it could be a local restaurant. There's certainly can be very different from opening day, opening week, opening month to several weeks or months later, based on whether that is the creativity, the flavors, the portion sizes. Did you see, after dining there several times, did you see any initial change other than them like running out of the Minion Tots? And do you foresee, with, your knowledge of theme park food, if somebody goes back to this in 6 months and all they've read is your review from the first month, do you think they're going to see a lot of changes, or do you think that they're still going to live up to these kind of standards of creativity, portion size, and flavor?
Based on Universal's pattern, remember there was the Volcano Bay menu. Remember the extravagant Volcano Bay menu and all the things they were going to do, and then they had trouble getting the food out quick enough, so they dumbed down the menu.
Yeah.
And then menus got extremely dumbed down because we're past after the COVID period. We still see that at Disney World. We see that at SeaWorld. We see that at Universal. I saw that at Busch Gardens in Tampa. I did notice, because I've gone back, it's the big joke. How many times have you been to Minion Cafe? I've been there 8 times, just in case you want to know.
Wow.
I noticed that the Mel's Meatball Mountain, which is, the flavors are good. Let me double check the menu to make sure I don't mess this up. If I can find it. It's a wood oven baked, because they still use the same pizza oven they had in the old Monsters Cafe, or that's what I'm being told.
Yeah.
Wood oven baked stuffed pizza. I wouldn't call it pizza. I would call it it's some hybrid between a calzone and a stromboli, with meatballs on top and basil and then fresh mozzarella on top of it. It's pretty good, but I noticed the second and third time we had it that the portion size was a lot smaller.
Interesting, yeah.
And so I'm kind of anticipating that's going to happen with something. I've been really watching the Szechuan chicken, the chicken Stewart, but the portion size has been, I mean, it wasn't as large as what Xavier got that first day, but it was still way more than you would expect to be paying at a quick service place. I would also expect that some of these kids' meals are going to be simplified. I know I went through my planned articles to write over the next month and a half, because I was working on that this morning. And I've kind of got a review I'm going to do overall of all the kids' meals. And I think one of those kids' meals isn't going to last. The one that's more marinara. It's a upscale version of a kid's spaghetti and meatballs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that one's going to last. But overall, there are signs. Let me do complete rumors, no fact, speculation here, because where else could you do that but on a theme park podcast?
Right.
Based on some evidence that we have that does not relate to food, but in other places and other things that are probably going to become public knowledge related to Minion Land, and when Illuminations Minion Blast opens, in theory, in 6 weeks, when it opens, things are going to look different, almost like, even though Universal owns Illuminations, the wild rumors that J.K. Rowling won't let things happen in the Wizarding World.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those are true. Most of those are bold-faced lies from the pits of hell, and I can say that based on my vocation.
Okay.
Warner Brothers controls that.
Okay.
And they want certain things because they would like to be able to market this a little bit better. Warner Brothers does require certain things to be done with JK's blessing.
Yeah.
And that's why I joked about it today. That's why I can't buy a Coke Zero in the Wizarding World. And that is JK and Warner Brothers together.
Okay.
We're getting the impression that Illuminations, even though Universal owns them, this gets into the weird thing of you own them, but you don't own the theme park rights. And it just gets ugly and weird. It's like classic Monsters at Universal.
Yeah.
The movie company owns it. Universal Theme Parks doesn't, so they always have to ask permission, even though the movies don't care. There seemed to be some that to have Minion Cafe, the standard has to be fairly high, because it appears Illuminations was a little disappointed in how it started in Hollywood. Remember, there was a Minion Cafe at Hollywood.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the standard has to be higher. So I suspect that the standard will stay high at Minion Cafe.
Well, that's good to hear then.
And if the rumors I hear are true, you're going to be like, oh, and it'll be obvious, by the way, when this happens. Oh, that's what Jon couldn't talk about in the podcast about Minion Cafe and Minion Land. Because you'll be like, that's weird. Why is Universal doing that?
Yeah.
So I'm suspecting the same sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, we'll be there next week. We'll give it a shot. Of course, we'll give our thoughts on it. But yeah, very interested to see it and hear all about it from you. Now let's move on to some of the highlights from your whirlwind month-long trip here, and some of your favorite food items and where they were from. I know we have no particular order, but you do have a list. So start wherever you please.
Oh, I have
Jon.
a list. Yes, I typed this list, didn't I? Hold on.
Yes.
Let me follow my own notes.
Say I can point you in the direction.
Yeah, sorry, I have a list that I typed up for you. I'm just going to start at the top of the list, because these are not in any certain order. I went to Ale and Compass for their breakfast. Call it a buffet. There's a bar with sausage and biscuits and pastries and all kinds of things. But Ale and Compass is probably one of the best breakfast values at Walt Disney World. It's $23 for their buffet. an entree, and a drink.
Oh.
And yes, for those of you wondering, they will bring me Coke Zero for that drink too, in case you're wondering, for breakfast. Yes, that was important, because all Disney chefs know, make sure Jon has plenty of Coke Zero before he writes something. I ordered the breakfast protein bowl. I got it with plant-based eggs, and it comes with plant-based sausage, quinoa, sweet potatoes, chard, kale, pickled carrots, and it's served in a carrot ginger dressing and has with a chocolate avocado toast on the side. This was really good. I knew as a food blogger what I had ahead of me. There, the halfway to holiday treats were coming out. The Gideon's cookie was coming out. I needed something with some protein because it was going to be rough.
Oh yeah.
So I ordered this for that reason. And I thought it was a really good breakfast entree. I was really impressed with that. And, considering I could throw in a beverage and pastries and sausage and gravy and biscuits and those kind of things for $23. And we were getting cast member discount too. So it was higher. But at that point, we were getting 20% discount for annual pass at that point. So realistically, I was paying $20 in June for a breakfast buffet.
Wow.
On property. And so I was really impressed with an entree. I mean, that's the place where also you can get the, I think they're called chocolate chip waffles there. Mm-hmm. There's also a shrimp and grits entree. It's a variation of shrimp and grits. I think I may have messaged you. I may not have. That was so long ago. I was going to message. I need Rhonda's help because it's your shrimp and grits entree, and I didn't order it. But
I know we need to get there for that. Is the breakfast pizza back on the menu? Do you know? Because it was gone. It was there. It was gone. I thought it came back.
I think there was a breakfast flatbread, but I always recommend you go to Trattoria Forno for the breakfast pizza over here. So that's a whole different conversation. I think it's back.
Okay. No, it used to be that the buffet was optional for an add-on cost onto your entree. Is this all-in-one pricing now? And this was I think pre-COVID.
You can order it as an entree.
Okay.
But my entree would have been $20.
Okay. All right.
The buffet total is $23.
Wow. That's great.
The lowest entree I saw, which I think was just this basic chocolate chip waffles, was $14 or $15. So at that point, if you're going to get a beverage, I'm not saying you have to because it's Florida, you might want to hydrate with just water. That's cool. If you're going to get a beverage on property, you just budget $4. I know it's probably more than that, but just budget $4 right there.
Yeah.
And then if you want more than the entree, like say you decide to order the waffles, you're going to need something to balance that out because if that's your entire meal. The $23 is not a bad value. I know back in the old days, I wrote a review when I went to Ale and Compass before for Mouse Dining, and it was basically, this is your best value on property for a breakfast buffet.
Yeah.
The only tricky part with Ale and Compass is you have to get to Ale and Compass, which is easy if you're on the Skyliner route or relatively easy. If you're not, it can be very tricky to get to the boardwalk.
Very. Yeah. Unless they've cracked down at Swan and Dolphin, we always found ourselves taking an Uber to Swan and Dolphin. And then having to walk over because any of the Disney resorts were usually going to shut you down without, even with a dining reservation, we couldn't get in one time over there.
Yeah,
which was crazy.
I haven't had that problem, but yeah, they see me coming. Okay, yeah. So I've reached that point for the table service now. Quick service and counter service and snacks, no one sees me coming.
Yeah,
but the chefs see me coming for table service.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next item, which I'm very interested to hear about.
I knew you would be. And when you asked, I went through all of my photos, and I know I wrote about this well before it happened for Attractions Magazine. This is Milk, the House of Cereal. This is located near Universal at what we call Desertland, where they have the car museum and all those kind of things. It's just they have lots of little, we'll call them food court areas. They're little kind of cubicles. It reminds me of living in Southeast Asia with the shops and just kind of tucked in one to the next one. And at Milk, the House of Cereal, you pay $5. Now, there are some upcharges for some things where you might pay $1 more total.
Okay.
So budget $6 or $7 just in case.
You don't want to break the bank.
Well, I want to break the bank. It's $5. And you get all the cereal you want with milk. for the whole day. You could go
Seriously.
show up. Yes, you can show up, have your cereal, leave and go play games or watch a movie or whatever you want to do in the Disneyland Entertainment Center. You can come back and come back later and have more cereal. Now, here's the problem. We're all going to be drawn to the cereal of our childhood, which is what oh, wow, I'm so apologize to him. I think it's Kadeem is his first name. I've met him so many times. I apologize. I'll look it up. He wants people to relive their childhood.
Yeah.
And I've chatted with him during this last trip about how, Kellogg's and Post watch his Instagram and watch who's getting the most promotion, because obviously some of the cereal they get sent for free because, and that kind of stuff. And they'll have, all kinds of stuff. I remember torturing him with the Attractions magazine article I wrote and said, I want this cereal. And he says, basically as nice as he could say, we ran out of that cereal a long time ago. And so, but literally it's a show up, it's a little tiny place. There's hardly any place to get around. There's hardly any place to sit, but it's a little bar where you just sit down and take in the cereal and get whatever you want and have it as much as you want. And I'm just making sure. Yeah. Kadeem, I didn't lose a friend here. He's created by Kadeem Wright created it. I had to check my own article.
That's super cool.
And yes, and you can even, if you have no desire or you've not concerned about your future, you can throw marshmallows and M&Ms and chocolate chips and sprinkles and even whipped cream on top of your cereal.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
And he's got 5 different creations where he's created he's combined all those different cereals together. I think is where the $1 upcharge comes from. Spoiler, I didn't pay the $1 upcharge, so I don't know that, but I believe it's $1 upcharge. Where he combined like the perfect, peanut butter cereal, all the different peanut butter cereals in the perfect combination. Then the perfect chocolate cereal, and I know mine came with chocolate chips on top of it and all kinds of stuff. I finished them.
Yeah.
But you get a fresh bowl each time and all those kind of things. It's great. You can pick whatever cereal you want. There's all around the wall, but it's not that far from Universal. I know from chatting with my friends who've been there several times, this might not be the best place for you to go to visit on a Friday night. Of course, they're closed. They think they're open like 11 to 7. Not to give away, but as you're probably thinking, that maybe they're open earlier than that. I apologize to Kadeem for that. Maybe they're open at 9, but there's an early morning business they'd much rather have.
Yeah. That
they can't do yet because of where they are. So obviously they have plans to do some other stuff.
Very cool.
And it's a wonderful place, and he'll take care of you, and things will be great. But yes, if you're looking for fine dining and high quality nutrition, don't go there. However, if you just want to feed, like I can visualize you taking the girls over there and their friends on one trip, and maybe they're going to go on the go-karts or do all the other things. If you haven't been over there, they have all the entertainment things you could possibly desire. Okay. Now, granted, you're going to pay for those, right, but all the things you could desire. But you take a break for those, and the girls will be like, "Oh, I'll eat this," and even if they only have 1 or 2 bowls, you spent $5.
Yeah. Well worth it. Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah, you spent, yes. And so
jeez.
That had to make and in case you're wondering, Jeremy asked me to kind of write a top 10 list of things that I had during this trip.
Yeah. Well, so and that's not the only deal, because your next item up sounds like quite the deal as well. If we're talking about affordable value options.
Right. Now, first, we all know, if you don't know, where have you been? I'm the biggest Adventura stan on the planet, and probably the biggest fan of the Urban Pantry food court on the planet also, which is not arguably, it's probably the best theme park resort food court on property, or Universal, Disney, anywhere.
Yeah.
As long as you're not targeting children, because this is, once again, remember who we're talking to. I'm a gray-haired old white guy. Adventura being more targeted towards adults is great for me. If I had 3 kids under the age of 10, I would never stay at Adventura.
Yeah.
Which, why would I? Across the street, there's Cabana Bay.
Yep. That's where we'll be next week.
Which is usually the same price.
Yeah.
Okay. I was with some friends. The YouTube channel Goo to You were there. I literally had never noticed this before, but I try not to target this. Goo is kind of a fan of cookies, so he noticed on the menu they had cookies at the Urban Pantry at the gelato bar. And he pointed out to me that he could get 3 cookies, which are the same cookies you can buy in the parks, for about $3.50, and they still might be worth that. He could get 3 cookies for $3 at the Urban, and that is before annual pass discount.
Yeah.
So basically, you're paying less than $3 with tax.
Wow, that's a good deal.
I mean, they're chocolate chip cookies, but they're reasonable quality chocolate chip cookies, and they were warm.
Oh, nice. Even better.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. I mean, I have other podcast friends who live in the UK who obsess about the cookies at Croissant Moon and places like that because they are really good, but they pay $3.29 for basically the same cookie.
Right.
These are a little smaller, but I've now done this long enough I can recognize where they came from and what service they were using.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe we'll have to walk over from Cabana Bay then. I can get the 3 because we'll have 3 girls with us.
Okay, please don't walk over. Don't play Frogger walking across
That's
the
a good
street
point.
there. Okay,
that's a good point.
Don't do that
one.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
people do that all the time.
That's our
don't
safety.
Play Frogger.
That's our safety notice.
Yeah, please don't.
Next, I'm very interested about this one too. Heading over to Disney Springs with one of the new dining options over there. Talk a little bit about this.
We've been hearing for months that Disney was going to take their Disney-owned food trucks and move them out of Disney Springs. The question is, are they going to move them to the Wild Wilderness Sports Complex? Are they going to move them in the park? Or are they going to take over the operation at Wilderness Lodge in Fort Wilderness? Right. These are all possibilities. But they were going to try to solve some food problems in some of those areas, something that Universals would probably do on busy days, just have another option. So a food truck that's been partnered with Disney for a while is Cilantro Urban Eatery. And those of you who don't like cilantro are already cringing. I think if you don't like cilantro because it tastes like soap to you, I think you'd probably still be okay dining here. I would understand why you wouldn't because it's in the name. But I think you might be okay because I was not overwhelmed by the cilantro at all in any of the entrees. They have a nice little cilantro avocado mayo dip that they create you might want to avoid, but really bad. It's so it's been in talking to some of their owners, they've been a food truck with a contract to be at Wild Wilderness Sports for like all of their events for quite a while. So now they have a contract to be the 3rd food truck at Disney Springs, which if you're unfamiliar with the food trucks area at Disney Springs, it's in the West Side area. It's it's near the Starbucks across from where the Marvel store is. Mm-hmm. And there's the Four Rivers Barbacoa food truck. I think I said that right. Mm-hmm. Four Rivers Cantina Barbacoa truck. I should get that right. I do reviews of Four Rivers offsite too, so I need to get that right. Then there's the local Green Orlando food truck, which is they're from a company based out of Atlanta, which arguably has some of the best vegan and pescatarian food around.
Okay.
And then this one has come in and taken the spot of the. I think it replaced the mac and cheese truck.
Yeah,
but the hot dog truck had been gone for a while.
Yep.
And they have 5 entrees, and we could talk offline about all the things I learned about how the Disney requirements for third parties. I learned a lot actually based on this operation. Yes, if you've ever wondered why some places at Disney Springs don't sell certain products, I think I've told you all you need to know.
Yep.
Because all menus have to be approved.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so they have 5 items, and I don't think I have them off the top of my head. They have some arepas, which I thought were pretty good. This is more South American type cuisine, so don't visualize merging of Latin and Texas cuisine like you might get at Four Rivers Barbacoa truck.
Okay.
Visualize more true Venezuelan food, like they have a ropa veja. I always say that incorrectly. Sorry. All of my Spanish teachers would be offended, but which they do a great job with that meal. Ironically, Minion Cafe has one. It's pretty good, but it's nowhere near the same level.
Okay.
Because Minion Cafe, it's El Macho's.
Yes,
ropa
of course.
Veja, so that's El Macho's salsa y salsa.
Yeah.
They have the cilantro truck has a Puerto Rito, and you need to trill your R there, which I can't do at the moment. You'll see when you see it on the menu, there's like 4 R's. So trill your R. I thought it was arguably one of the best burritos from a counter service place, quick service, I've had ever. Now, granted, it's $14, $15 and comes with plantain chips. It was really good. It had kind of a sweet plantains inside the burrito also. There was a Cuban sandwich that was pretty good. I think I've gotten all the menu now except for one thing, and I apologize for that. Oh, probably the best thing on the menu. There's some chicken tostadas.
Ooh.
And they put a lot more of if you're adverse to cilantro, I would avoid this one.
Okay.
They take the mayo and their mayo dip, and they put it on top of it after preparing chicken. I thought the portion size was a little small. I haven't written an entree about that. I'll have to tell Carolina that I said this on a podcast. But the portion size might be a little small, but the flavors were really, really, really good.
Okay. I really want to try this place out. Everything you just said sounds like what I want.
Right. And this, you could tell that I'm writing reviews of this place when I'm cranking out 15 blogs a day, which by the way, that's not good for you as a freelancer, because I kept visualizing things being in July and it was in June. I wrote that in like 4 different sites and editors didn't catch it. I think I wrote it on 4 other sites and editors did catch it. So if you've seen any of my blogs anywhere and somehow it's dated June, but I say it opens in July, that's me just writing too many blogs, and I apologize. I know I did that for them a couple times.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna stick in Disney Springs. We're gonna head over to what's become one of my favorite spots recently, even after I said for many years that I thought it was overrated. I no longer think that. So I'm excited to hear about this dish over at Homecoming.
I went to lunch with our friends at Mouse Dining, Emily and Dustin.
Yeah.
And, just to give them credit, they paid for the meal. So, just so you know. And I was going down the list of things that I had not reviewed at Homecoming, which is a very short list, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I realized that even though I had had this before, I had never actually reviewed it. And I started typing up a review actually after you messaged me about this. It's the country fried steak at Homecoming. And so if you're unfamiliar with Southern food, basically this is an excuse to take a chicken and prepare it like a steak, except we're going to cover it in as much batter as we humanly can, but it's going to be the tastiest batter ever. And if I remember, maybe somebody can message me, I will post a photo of this entree in your Facebook group.
Yeah.
This is the largest country fried steak I've ever had in my entire life. And I grew up in Arkansas, lived in Texas.
Yeah.
We know how often I go to Florida. This is the largest one I've ever had in my entire life. Now, let's be fair. It's a $30 entree. Now, granted, we were going at a time where annual passes were getting 20% off. So, okay. It comes with mashed potatoes and green beans. You don't see the mashed potatoes and green beans because the country fried steak covers the whole thing, but they're underneath it.
Jeez.
I have a well-earned reputation as making fun of some organizations that may or may not have ears and have blogs that talk about food. That organization altogether, I may or may not. I make fun of them, some of them on staff, because they taste the food and they write a whole review.
Yeah.
I kind of pride myself, and maybe it's my bad tradition of always eating the food within reasonable everything. I couldn't finish this.
Jeez.
And I was eating at 2:00. Now, granted, I had gone to breakfast somewhere else, but I'm eating at 2:00 in the afternoon as a food blogger.
Yeah.
And we've joked about how much food I can eat if I have to. The famous eat all 7 Gideon's cookies in one day.
Yep.
Okay, that kind of stuff. I couldn't finish it.
Wow.
It was that much food. this would be share this between 2 people.
Yeah.
And then if you want to splurge sharing it among 2 people, order Mama's mac and cheese, which I discovered because I think Emily did it. You can get bacon put on top of your mac and cheese at Art Smith.
Well, that's a game changer.
Yes. So I didn't ask her how it was, but it's Mama's mac and cheese, so I know it was good. And bacon makes everything better.
Yeah. Unless
you're, of course, a vegetarian. I apologize. This was really, really good. The flavors were good. The portion size was good. I know this is hard to believe. When I go to Homecoming, I rarely order the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly order other things. Now, I'll order things with chicken on them, but I rarely order the fried chicken and the donuts. I rarely order the standard fried chicken. I rarely order the the fried. I usually order the other entrees,
Yeah.
like the chopped pork barbecue platter is probably my favorite thing to get there.
Yeah. Well, as weird as it sounds, and maybe this is the same way you feel, if again, and I know we're your STK reference, I think you go there and you get a steak, but in a situation like this, I go and think, I know the fried chicken is going to be incredible. Let's see how he does other things, if that makes sense. So I think I have that same kind of mindset where I'm like, and I still need to go get the fried chicken there because I've said it plenty of times that I need to do that and give I'll carry in a box of Publix if I have to. We'll do a side by side.
Wow.
But yeah, I kind of think that's one of the reasons I've never gotten it. Price aside, is because I'm thinking he is known for this fried chicken. I know it's going to be delicious. I've never heard someone say it's not good.
Right.
Let's see what else is good here. So we tend to order other things as well in a situation like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, I all joking aside, I've never had anything was bad at homecoming. I literally, well, you'll appreciate this. I've ordered the fried pickles and I thought they were good. Now you and I share the same feeling about fried pickles, by the way.
I don't know if
about pickles, period.
Yeah.
Okay. And I do agree. So we can take this podcast a whole different direction. You can edit out later. I'm not sure the pickles that are served at homecoming on the side are true pickles. They're pickles, but they're pickles barely.
Yes, because I did taste one of those.
Okay. Yeah.
I did not care for it, but to me, it was not a pickle. To me, it was the same as the ones they were giving you. I don't know if they still do them at Tepanito. To me, those are marinated cucumbers, which is different than a true pickle.
No,
I will die on this hill.
Art Smiths are pickles, but they can see the line between cucumber and pickle.
Yeah, it's really toting that line. Now, again, I didn't like them. I still got pickle flavor, but it wasn't like eating a pickle when I had to eat a giant gas station pickle after raising an extra $500 for Give Kids the World. That did not go well. But yeah, I wasn't in that level. I like the ones I like the cucumbers at Tepanito. I'm still calling them cucumbers over there.
That's fair. They're pickles at homecoming, but I wanted to make that acknowledgement to you that they're just barely pickles at homecoming.
That's a perfect way to describe them.
However, the fried pickles are really pickles.
Okay. All right.
And they were pretty good.
I'm shocked that Rhonda has never ordered those. She must not have seen them on the menu.
They do weird things with the menu at homecoming. Like I'm going to lose credit at homecoming. All the people who give me information on homecoming are not talk to me anymore. They got rid of the carrot cake and they replaced it with shine cake, but even the servers didn't know when they did it.
Okay.
So these kind of things happen there at homecomings.
For sure.
But yeah, there's a reason why, even though I do think I will lose cred completely here, I do think homecoming to some extent is slightly overrated compared to other restaurants at Disney Springs.
Yeah.
It is still the best restaurant at Disney Springs.
Yeah.
And when I did a whole list for one site, now we're ended up not going to publish that, and there are lots of good reasons why we're not publishing it. I was asked to give them the list of the top 10 table service restaurants on all of Walt Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of time working on this. Spoiler, based on the criteria of atmosphere, how difficult the reservation is to get, because I ranked that as a value.
Yeah. Because
how people desire it. The food quality and the food value, Topolino's was first. I know you're shocked by that.
Yes.
Homecoming was second.
Wow.
On all of the property. And I'm still telling you Homecoming is still slightly overrated. And I ranked it second of all table service restaurants. But it comes down to food quality and value.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's worth it. And there's a reason. I mean, I think we're both in the same group that Dustin sent out the update on the most searched for dining reservations. Homecoming is still the most searched for dining reservation at Disney Springs.
That's amazing.
For good reason.
Yeah, very good reason. But if you can't get it, that's when you use mouse dining. So they helped us out with the 8-person brunch on a Sunday morning.
That's saying a lot too for an 8-person brunch. Those are hard to get because I've now reached the point at some places, not Homecoming, some places, if it's 2 or 4, I can show up and get it.
Yeah.
At Disney Springs.
Yeah.
I can't get you 8 under any circumstances.
That's we've had that at a few spots that we know pretty well as well, and I'm like, that's not going to happen. But
no,
try and help you out in other ways. All right, we're going to move on to the next location, the next restaurant. I got to finally dine here for breakfast about 3 months ago, and absolutely loved it. So can't wait to hear your thoughts on Boma breakfast over at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
First disclaimer about Boma. It's been a long time since I went to Boma for breakfast. I've been there for lunch and for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
The Boma buffet, and remember, we're talking to someone who at least is a half-time food blogger. The length of this buffet is overwhelming.
Yeah.
It just goes on.
You get a workout just walking it.
And on. Now, in fairness, some of the things, there's duplications, but there's not that much duplication of the workout. There was probably, I'd have to go back through because I haven't finished this review. There are probably 10 stations on this buffet.
Yeah.
And they have the 2 stations on the far end from when you enter, where it has, the standard carved meat for you, and I think it's carved ham for breakfast. I'm not sure what it is. And then they had, kind of a few African themed entrees that are more suited for lunch or dinner, even though I know from living in different countries that our definition of breakfast is not the same as many other people. Like I've woken up in Southeast Asia and looked for my rice and my chili sauce for breakfast, and people look at me like I'm funny, but that's just what you do. There was nothing on the Boma breakfast buffet that I thought was bad. And yes, I tried pretty much everything, even stuff that I tend to not like.
Yeah.
And that took a while. I was a little disappointed as a food blogger that there were not more traditional African type breakfast items like I might find at Tusker House.
Okay.
But that's the struggle with Tusker House is character dining at Animal Kingdom Lodge. It's good character dining, but you're doing that to bring the kids for character dining. And they had some entrees on their breakfast at Tusker House that were more extravagant than what I found at Boma.
Yeah.
Now, not that Boma's weren't.
Right.
But anything I had at Boma, let's make the food blogger joke. It's breakfast buffet. Of course, there's going to be eggs. Yeah, but if you've had the eggs at Topolino's or you catch a good day at Ohana, how do I say this nicely? There's enough cream in those eggs. You're probably gaining 100 pounds sitting there, but you will enjoy every second of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of the reason that everybody that Chef Art Smith's been a celebrity chef for think they've gained weight. It's just the way it is. There was nothing that was bad. There were all kinds of variety. There were little, I'll call it a trifle cake yogurt. I mean, everything was good. Like, I don't really enjoy that kind of yogurt. That was good. They had lots of different things. They had Simba waffles and Mickey waffles, which were made slightly differently.
Mm-hmm.
Or let me rephrase that. If they weren't made differently, the couple times I tried them, they tasted different. And I have discovered that I prefer Simba waffles to Mickey waffles. I'm so sorry, Mickey. I know there's a reason why you keep charging me so much for my out-of-state annual pass now, but I prefer Simba waffles. And they were it's not like at Ohana where the Stitch waffles are usually vegan,
right?
And the Mickey waffles are not. Neither of these were vegan.
Okay.
They had all kinds of anything you could desire for a buffet. They had there. I believe the price is $39 currently.
Yeah.
I want to say 35. I think it's 39. But when I compare that to a cross to inside actual Orlando to Universal Orlando to a similar buffet that might cost a little bit less, the food at Boma was at least twice as good.
Yeah.
At least.
We absolutely loved it there. It was,
but of course, Boma has the standard problem. You have to get there.
Yes.
That's the Animal Kingdom Lodge problem.
Yeah. Yep. And that was on our checkout day. So we were driving, because we tend to use either internal transportation or Uber, when we're actually on our trip, and then drive out. So yeah, we've been doing some checkout day type things at some of the harder places to get to just for that reason. For example, I think when we go in 2 weeks, I think our checkout day, we're doing Cape May Cafe for breakfast. So it'll be a lot easier, hopefully, to drive over there. So that's the type of thing we do. All right, going to move on to the next location, which I think is an extremely underrated quick service in Hollywood Studios. I would love to hear from the food blogging world, because I know in the social media world, you either love or hate this place over at the ABC Commissary. I mean, I've seen people that have absolutely trashed this place, and then I've seen people that think it's one of the best quick services. I've always enjoyed everything I've had there. Not that we eat there that often, including the dish that you're going to talk about, because Rhonda got this one time and we really enjoyed it.
I was with some other people. I was using a cast member guest invite because I was doing some work for them. Because I don't have an annual pass because it's $15 million as an out-of-state person. Sorry, I'm better now, which is very difficult as a food blogger. So I'm there. So they wanted to go to ABC Commissary, which was great. I was fine with that because we were trying to figure out where to go because it was actually a busy day at Hollywood Studios. And I walked in and then I realized, oh my goodness, I've had almost everything on this menu. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to figure out, I know there was something else on the menu I was going to get. I can't remember what it was, but it was a variation that you could order of some of the things. And then I spotted, I can't remember what I spotted or somebody spotted it for me, the portion size of this salad because someone else ordered it. It's the Mediterranean salad, which sounds like a really boring thing to get at ABC Commissary because ABC Commissary has a well-earned reputation, at least before COVID.
Yeah.
Of being, how do I say this nicely? If it's a decent thing on the menu, they move it to another restaurant.
Yeah.
Because that happened a lot.
Oh, a ton.
I think I can safely say at this point that ABC Commissary is the safest quick service option at Hollywood Studios.
That's a great way
you can end up getting a bad option at Woody's Lunchbox.
Yeah.
Depending on when you go and what you order. You can get a not good Ronto roaster. You can catch Docking Bay 7 at the wrong time, especially because you don't have breakfast there anymore.
Right.
And it not be great. Now, granted, I would normally rate those higher, and there's evidence of that if you want to go to mickeyvisit.com. I've written best Hollywood Studios restaurants, and I ranked ABC Commissary below them.
Mm-hmm.
However, I ordered the Mediterranean salad. I basically ordered it because of the portion size. The portion size is really large. Now, I got it without chicken. You can pay $2 or $3 more for chicken. I got it without chicken for $10.29. You
can't beat that.
And it comes with hummus. It comes with, they call it grilled flatbread. It's really some pita bread, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
There was nothing on this that was bad. And I believe earlier that week I had the BLT salad at Homecoming. So obviously this was not to that level, but this for the price point,
yeah, jeez,
was a better value than what I got at Homecoming.
Yeah.
And I thought the flavors were really good. Now you need to expect non-traditional flavors. I mean, I'm looking at the menu now. It's not traditional lettuce, it's mixed greens, with tomatoes, cucumbers, pepperoncinis, Kalamata, olives, and feta tossed in a Mediterranean vinaigrette. You don't need to add anything to this. Mm-hmm. This is enough. And, obviously for me, when I'm just having a meal to have a meal, which is rare at Walt Disney World or Universal because everything's already so scripted for me, this was just a meal to have. And I thought I would get this again easily for $10 at a counter service inside of Disney. No, I'm not even going to say at Disney, at any Orlando area theme park.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I don't think, now that I think about it, I don't think I can find this comparable entree in value at Universal either.
Yeah.
For this type entree, I can find it for a different entree,
right?
But not this kind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it because we like this spot. We need to get back there. I enjoyed their tacos and all.
And don't misunderstand me. The shrimp tacos and the pork tacos, I would take the shrimp if I had a choice.
Agreed.
You're getting an entree with rice and beans instead of fries. There's something to be said for that at Hollywood Studios, especially.
Yeah.
The buffalo grilled cheese, I think that's what they talked about changing the name, but I think that's what it's still called.
Yeah.
It's a good value.
Yeah.
And even if you don't enjoy really spicy buffalo sauce, you're not getting it. This is theme park level.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's really even the plant-based burger. I think it's plant-based burger. Maybe they changed it to chicken. I apologize. I didn't double check. I haven't had that in a while. It's good at ABC Commissary. Now, is it the best quick service item you can order? No, that's at Docking Bay 7.
Yeah.
But I've also, the few times that I've been to Docking Bay 7, I've also gotten some bad versions of those entrees. that were far below the level of this salad.
Right. Yeah.
And paying way more.
Oh yeah, a ton more over there.
But when I'm getting a good entree there,
it's really
it blows
good.
this away.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really, really good.
It's kind of the joke I make, and I know this is doesn't work well for podcasting. The reason that Homecoming does so well, and I tell the staff this all the time, on a scale of 1 to 10, a good day at Homecoming is like a 9.7.
Yeah.
A bad day at Homecoming is an 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whereas let's pick on Morimoto. A good day at Morimoto is a 9.99999.
Mm-hmm.
A bad day at Morimoto is a 7.
Yeah.
So ABC commissary using that same scale would be on quick service would be probably a 7 to a 5.5.
Yeah.
Whereas docking bay 7 might be a 9.5 to a 3.
Yeah. That's tough.
And I'm not trying to pick on them.
You can't have consistency. That's
right.
That's the hard part. And that's got to be. We talked about this a lot. I mean, and I'll just use Finnegan's as an example, right?
That's a great example.
You bring up a wonderful point with that, and your job as a food blogger, our job, whatever you want to call it, as podcasters who really enjoy food, these are always our experience at that time. You certainly do a lot of revisits and have a lot of other contacts that are eating some of the same things. So you have a lot more data that can show you, somewhere like Docking Bay 7, we can both love it. Most of the times we go there, we can recommend an item. Somebody could go there on that off day, on that, non-quality day, and they get that 3, and they're thinking, what are these two guys talking about? They have no idea what's good. And we're like, well, it was good the day we had it. So there certainly can be those varying levels in that. So
I really have seen, now that I'm kind of doing this more as a vocation rather than just a way to pay for my vacations.
Yeah.
As I butcher the English language there. I've noticed that my writing style has changed dramatically from when I had it to, I use the phrase, most guests will experience, some guests will experience.
Yeah.
Because especially with Universal, because obviously I have way more data at Universal, and Finnegan's using the scale I just gave you, on its best day is like an 8.7, but on its bad day it's a 2.
And we were a 2.
Right. And so, but the data has supported, in case you've missed the Finnegan's joke and you haven't followed along in Jeremy, this is kind of like the shrimp at Boathouse. This is a running gag with Jeremy.
It is.
Don't go to Finnegan's on Friday night at 6:00.
Yeah.
I can't recommend you do that. I've done it. Now, my experience was like a 5 or a 6, but I'm a spoiled, entitled food blogger, and I go to eat at 1:00 on a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just tell you, the food is really good at Finnegan's at 1:00 on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I've had to really factor that in. And I've really, based on our conversation with other people, I've really changed the way I write a lot of reviews of what would be the worst that someone would experience, because that's, I don't want them to think that I'm insane because I gloat about this item when they have it and it's terrible.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, that happens to all of us. So I hope, I want to use your scale reference here, because I was super excited to see Pizza Ponte show up on this list. This has become one of Rhonda and I's favorite late night go-tos, especially if we're staying in the Disney Springs area. We took our friends when we couldn't decide what to really sit down and eat at Disney Springs the other weekend, Father's Day weekend. We all got a couple slices, took them back to the room. I absolutely love Pizza Ponte, and I would like to do a side-by-side taste test with Via Napoli, because there's been 6 to 8 months difference between me eating one and the other. I tend to enjoy whatever freshest on my mind,
right?
Which is easy to do. We've had Pizza Ponte 4 or 5 times in the past 6 months because it's just been convenient based on where we were at the time. But we really love it. What's your go-to here? What's your overall thoughts on Pizza Ponte? Is the quality always there?
Okay, there is tangible evidence. I was trying to look up. I knew I'd written it. I wrote for a Mickey Visit, Best Pizza at Walt Disney World, which that's just a nightmare article waiting to happen.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and we broke it down on table service and quick service. I think I threw some honorable mentions in because there's, I think it's Terra Treats at Animal Kingdom Lodge, not Animal Kingdom theme park.
Yeah,
that serves way better pizza than Pizzafari does.
Yeah.
And it costs less.
Mm-hmm.
So just those are the kind of going through my notes and checking. Pizza Ponte, for those of you unfamiliar, is at Disney Springs. It's a counter service. You purchase pizza by the slice. You can purchase a whole pizza, but it's really not very cost effective. Just buy the slice and get the kind you want. They have it all kind of set out for you, and it's ready. And then they'll warm it up, throw it in their little oven for about 60 seconds to 75 seconds, and serve it to you. Pizza Ponte is run by Patina Group, which also runs Via Napoli. Mm-hmm. And most of the Italian restaurants, quite frankly, at Disney World and Disneyland, now that I've done my research, I was shocked how many Patina restaurants are at Disneyland in doing that research. In my rating, because this is the great conversation, really what you're talking about comparing, Jeremy, is Pizza al Taglio, which is the pizza window at Via Napoli, to Pizza Ponte. Now, Pizza al Taglio is only open 180 days a year. I have that confirmed from food and beverage cast members.
Okay.
Now, determining which 180 days a year is kind of like determining what the weather's going to be like in Florida at 2:00.
Right.
Good luck.
Right.
So I can't even figure out when it's going to be open, when it's not. But the Pizza Ponte is supposed to be more Sicilian style pizza. I would not define it that way, but I would choose Pizza Ponte over Pizza al Taglio any day of the week.
Yeah.
And
I meant actual Via Napoli sit down.
I know you did.
Yeah, because I thought I did not care for that pizza window at all.
Remember the pizza window? It's
such a different style.
It's not the same pizza you get at Via Napoli,
and that's the first time I went. That's what I was expecting, and that this was a couple years ago. This was before I really knew anything, and was super disappointed because I was thinking, whoa, I can walk up and get that Via Napoli pizza like this to go. No, you cannot.
No, you cannot. I would recommend, of course, we need to be fair, even though some of us, I don't currently, but many of you live close to this chain. The Blaze Pizza at Disney Springs is really good. And if you have any dietary concerns whatsoever, they got you covered.
Yeah.
The Patina Group doesn't do as well with that. And that's not a criticism. Blaze Pizza is just freaking awesome at that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not even a fair comparison. But during Flavors of Florida, because Flavors of Florida is like almost the Super Bowl for me, because it's Disney Springs Food Festival. There's like 20 different items surrounded different places. Pizza Ponte came out with a Pizza Diavola, and I need to emphasize the last syllable more. Diavola. Basically, they've taken a variation of an Italian pizza. They've taken a sausage. This is a terrible explanation, but it's how I needed to explain it. I've written a review about this and broke it down in English, but basically it's a type of sausage that they include red pepper in the sausage. And so they cook it that way. So this pizza comes out and it has just enough spice. And then they added a little bit of honey on top of it, Flavors of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the flavors were great. I mean, it's not the best pizza I've ever had. Don't misunderstand me. But for $8.75 for a large slice of pizza, because this is Pizza Ponte. If you've walked by, they have the big Roman pizza where they have the joke with the 2 paper plates for the pizza to fit on there, because that's what it. If you order the big Roman, that's what it's going to come on. 2 generic pizza plate.
Yeah.
The cheapest paper plates they could find to put it on there, and you will know immediately there's some grease on that pizza.
Oh yeah.
Remember, it may not be good for your diet, but grease generally means good flavor with pizza.
For sure. Yeah, and it's outstanding.
And I thought Pizza Ponte was really good. I really have not had anything at Pizza Ponte. I think I've now had everything on the menu. Now, the Pizza Diavola will only be there through Flavors of Florida, which runs to like the middle of August.
Yeah.
I've not had anything bad at Pizza Ponte ever.
So you've had the sandwiches and stuff? Because we haven't veered from the pizza.
I've had them. I would stay with the pizza, but I wouldn't say they were bad.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Yeah, because I see them every time, and I'm like, well, how am I not going to get the pizza?
No, you get the pizza.
Okay.
They have a kind of a pizza bun thing that they created a couple months ago. It's not bad either, but I would stay with the pizza.
All right. Okay.
And even if you're just trying to appease, and I don't know the diet of your 2 girls very well, but let's say you have an exceptionally picky. Sorry, you have the right demographic. An exceptionally picky middle school or middle of high school girl.
Yep.
they'll be fine with just let them pick what slice of pizza they want. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, we may have to get over there then to one of the nights that we're there with them in beginning of August, because we're not doing parks or anything. So we'll be figuring out some things to do to keep them entertained. So Disney Springs and Pizza Ponte might be one of it. And then last but certainly not least, we're going to end on a sweet tooth. We're going to stick in Disney Springs over at Gideon's. And so this is one of the flavors of Florida again. So you were definitely in your element here.
Yeah, I pretty much tried every flavors of Florida item.
Wow.
Now, this is a returning item from August of last year.
Okay.
This is the key lime chocolate chip cookie at Gideon's Bakehouse. I did not expect to like this. My only criticism of this item, please remember, I am having this in July in Florida. Do you see where this is going?
Yeah.
The chips tend to melt a little faster than. Now, I've eaten cookies at Gideon's in July before and August.
Yeah.
But in fairness, it was, and this may relate to our conversation about, I didn't think about this earlier, about attendance at theme parks. At least in Kissimmee, I don't know about Lake Buena Vista or Bay Lake. It was there were 2 days that were the hottest days in July in the history of Kissimmee, Florida.
It's been brutal. Absolutely. I mean, even up here in St. Augustine, it is. Right. It's we're last week and last end of the weekend we were in the feels like temperatures, topping out at 110 degrees, and storms in the afternoon, like I haven't seen in the 17 years or whatever 18 years I've lived here. I mean, like mini hurricanes coming through in the afternoons. It's been nuts, and that was one of my theories I was talking to my friend with, especially when it comes down to more locals and things like that. Is maybe we don't want to. Maybe we don't want to go over there today. It's, we don't want to go over there on this Tuesday evening when at 7 p.m. it still feels like it's 100 degrees outside. Right.
So in fairness to the Gideon cookie and to Steve, so I'll still get included in conference calls from the owner.
Yeah.
That was asking a lot, but the Gideon's cookies are incredibly soft. It's almost like though they're completely cooked, they come apart very easily. I mean, I've cut them right down the middle with a plastic knife with no problem whatsoever. So you've got a soft cookie, you've got texture. It melted a little bit faster, made a little more mess than I wanted. I think for one review I wrote about you needed to get way more napkins than you think you need when you get these cookies. However, I really like, and I'm not a big fan of key lime.
Okay.
The combination he has given of key lime and the kind of the soft traditional cookie dough that they have with a little touch of white chocolate was thrown in there, and the chocolate that goes with all Gideon's cookies. I thought it was really good. It's not going to replace, some of the other cookies that you might prefer that are on the standard menu. But if you're looking for a change of pace and something a little bit refreshing that goes really well with the flavors of Florida, this key lime chocolate chip cookie was really good, and it'll be around till the middle of August.
Okay, good. Well, we're hoping to go to the Flavors of Fire events and stuff that they're doing on Fridays with him. I believe it's July 28th.
It is July 28th, and that will be first come first serve, so you can't make reservations. So,
what's the recommendation then? When do we get there?
I don't know. I was trying to figure out if I was going to get to go, because obviously at least with that organization, I can slip in there and get closer if I want to. I'm not sure when I was even going to get there.
Yeah.
Okay. We expect that to be really heavily done.
I bet.
And it should be hilarious with Steve there, because if you're unfamiliar with, if you've been to Gideon's Bakehouse, especially the Disney Springs version, you get kind of this idea, and I'm probably being offensive, I'm not meaning to be, of kind of semi-goth setting when you go inside.
Oh, yeah.
When you see the way Steve dresses and the way he talks, you will see that all of this is a vision of his artistic skill and everything that comes with that.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, hopefully we can make it there. We'll it sounds like we'll be crossing over sometime, so hopefully we can get together as well. Yep. I know it's been tough lately with plans and everybody running around. We've had a few paths that almost crossed, but yeah, hopefully we can make that one work when we're down there, because that is a Disney trip for that one. We got a Universal, a Disney, and a Disney. So excited for those coming up, and I'll send you all those dates so you know. But
okay, well let me speak for the people who follow you on Twitter. for someone who whines that they haven't been to Disney World, haven't been to Orlando in like 12 days, and it's like the longest thing possible, you should probably back down on that a little bit. But yes,
it's been my favorite running joke with Daniel Miller and Derek Bergen now. So they created that joke. So now I just prod every chance I can get at them with my countdowns. And then usually Daniel will text me after and he'll be just like laughing about it. But yeah, if anybody is wondering, that's where it comes from. It is not me being serious or being cocky in any manner whatsoever. It's
that's the cover story Jeremy's using. So we'll see if that's true. But that's the cover story he's using. But as someone who gets his fair share of harassment from Derek Bergen, I get it. Yes. Yeah, that is too funny. Well, Jon, thank you so much. I've got a list of things I want to try when we're there, especially with the flavors of Florida coming up. So we'll certainly talk about any of these items in some future episodes. Rhonda will be back on Friday, everyone. Have no fear, but thankfully Jon was able to save the day and come in because this was a fun and great informative conversation as always. So truly appreciate you, Jon. And hopefully we can cross paths in person here very soon. Hopefully so. I should be there during some of that time. I've just scheduled a flight down, I think on the 25th. I'm doing a weird cheap flight where I'm flying things you can do when you're a single male now. Weird flight where I think I'm taking a red eye from like Denver or Phoenix.
Oh boy.
From where I'm going from Chicago. I'm going from like the Midwest to there and then taking a red eye in, arriving at Orlando Airport like at 5:00 in the morning or something weird like that.
All right. Well, you enjoy that. And then when you're,
I'm not going to.
When you're settled in, we'll figure out a time to say, hey.
Yeah, if you see a lot of blogs on all these different sites that I mentioned, you'll wonder why the typos are there, because my editors are very trusting in me, way too trusting. Yeah. They need to do a better job editing when I've been on a red eye.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I think all your stuff's wonderful. Throughout this episode, everybody go back and mark those sites. Is there just any like general sites, anything you want to plug? Now's your time to plug before we sign off. Feel free to plug anything. We're not
at this moment, and I think you and I've joked about that. I'm technically freelance writing for 14 different sites at the moment. And please, as I always tell people, that someone might pay me $40 for writing one blog, and that's writing for them. Okay. But I am writing for 14 different sites on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, at least. But most of the stuff that relates to Disney and Universal, because I write for some foodie sites also, you're going to find at piratesandprincesses.net, which, some of you'll know is the sponsor for the Main Street 16.
Yep.
Mickey Visit, which is, they do a lot of Disneyland, Disney World, and their subsidiary site, Disney Dose. Let's see who else. Attractions Magazine, Matt lets me write for them a lot. So if you want to veer a little bit outside, that's why we know about Milk, the House of Cereal.
Yeah, I love it.
So if you want to follow a lot of their stuff, we're doing a lot of media dining stuff with them. And then probably our friends over at Pixie Vacation, Universal Family Vacations, Steve's been letting me write a lot for them lately.
Perfect. Well, Jon, thank you again, and we will chat very, very soon.
Thank you very much, as always, Jeremy.
Always enjoy having Jon on the show, and I always learn a lot every single time he joins. I hope you did as well, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You get a brand new episode every Tuesday and Friday. You will get Rhonda back this Friday after being gone the last two shows. Cannot wait to have her back here on the show with me on Friday to talk World Showcase Pavilions. You've already hit subscribe, so we'd be super thankful if you could also leave us a rating and review. Because as Rhonda always says, it'll help our show grow. That's all we've got. We'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.